Defensive line coach Marion Hobby will come to Tennessee as a defensive analyst. He was a former UT defensive lineman. He brings a ton of experience. In general, we're going to break down different facets of this. Hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. How hot are you on this? I will go ahead and say red hot because the money is going to be evened out. It's $20.5 million, right?
Right.
So it's going to be evened out. That means you better get guys ready for the NFL. That's going to become the important thing again as players say, well, I'm going to get 500,000 from here. I'm going to get 500,000 from there. I want the very best prep for the NFL. Marian Hobby is a huge, huge get. Love the gift.
Love him. I think Marion Hobby is a great pickup. He is, he's a little bit, I believe he's a little bit younger than Rodney Garner, but not so much. But I think he and Rodney Garner are the same age now that I think about it. But Rodney Garner's been a long time assistant more, so you could maybe see Rodney Garner retiring a little bit earlier. And I could see Marion Hobby just filling that void and stepping into the defensive line coach after that. Couldn't you? And that's something that Marion Hobby might want to do. I could see Marion Hobby be somebody who does that until his 70s. Just because it's a job, he probably loves Tennessee.
Yeah, and they still have Robert Ayers too, who has an NFL background, right?
Yes, they do. They have Robert Ayers. That's a good point.
I mean, suddenly you've got a lot of NFL experience that you go to a young man, you sit down in his living room and you tell him that you're not only going to make short-term money so you can go to Taco Bell, as Arian Foster said, but you also can make big long-term money and be a superstar. Let's face it. I mean, everybody loves T. Martin in Knoxville, but people all over the world love the Joe Montanas and Troy Aikmans of the world. I mean, that's a different level if you're a superstar in the NFL, right?
Oh, yes. The allure is totally different. And there are technique things, and you know this, Dave, more than anything. There are technique things that are key to playing defensive line. I think we underrate the work that goes into developing defensive linemen sometimes. It's not just the raw talent, right? And I think that, this was part of the big thing during the Philip Fulmer years wasn't Dan Brooks the defensive line coach, or was he the linebacker coach during that time?
He was the defensive tackle coach. Steve Caldwell was the defensive ends coach.
Okay. Let's be honest. Dan Brooks had a huge role in Philip Fulmer's success with the way he developed defensive tackles, didn't he? And the way he coached them
Dan
up.
Brooks was monstrously huge. Other than John Chavis, he was probably the most beloved coach on that staff.
Yes, and I think if you had to get rid of one, you would have gotten rid of Chavis to keep Dan Brooks, wouldn't you?
That's an interesting one. I'd have to think about that. I still remember, who was the redheaded quarterback that Tennessee had? Do you remember that?
The redheaded quarterback.
Maybe somebody.
Nick Stevens?
Yeah, Nick Stevens. I still remember Steve Caldwell went up to Nick Stevens, and I was interviewing Nick Stevens. He goes, "You all look like you could be brothers." And you should have seen Nick Stevens' just disappointed face.
Oh my god!
I'm this 40-year-old dude. Lindsay says Dave is exactly right. NFL prep will quickly become the main goal for most recruits. Again, you're right, and it's not going to be facilities anymore. That's pretty much evened out as well, hasn't it? I don't think anybody's hurting for facilities. Even Vanderbilt upgraded to some extent.
Oh yeah, and this is the thing. This actually, I've said this before. Dave, what you want to know the biggest reason Tennessee fell off after the 90s? The most important reason, outside of the fact that Georgia decided to stop hiring goofballs as head coaches, was the revenue distribution got a lot more evened out because the SEC TV deals allowed all the other schools to upgrade their stadiums to get them to their facilities to get them to Tennessee's level. And so only Butch Jones was stupid enough to think we got a better juice bar than Alabama, so we're going to out-recruit Nick Saban and beat them because of that.
Now, we had somebody ask if you could give a little update on the NIL salary cap stuff. We went over that extensively yesterday, but give a rundown for those that didn't hear that.
Yeah, so basically every school is going to be allowed $20.5 million to pay players directly. That's what the House settlement does. There are going to be roster limits, not scholarship limits. We don't know what those will be yet. And then also when it comes to recruiting, when it comes to NIL payments, there's now going to be third parties that vet NIL payments to make sure that they are actual like endorsement deals and not just a booster handing a player cash so he can go play for a school.
It is just a bunch more rules that people are going to cheat on.
Yep.
It's going to be the same thing we had, 7 years ago? People giving illegal money Yeah, that's exactly what it's going to be like. Hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Yes, it's Orange Blood. It's $20.5 million for all sports. So let's get to hot or cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare. That's hot.
Former Vol Marian Hobby was an all SEC player.
Well, let's set up what we're playing here with hot or cold.
Okay.
I'm going to give all the reasons that this is a good hire, and you tell me if this is a good reason or if it doesn't mean anything.
Okay. I'll go ahead and tell you that first one's cold. I don't think kids care if you played for Tennessee or you played for Arkansas State.
So former Vol who was all SEC, I agree. I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters at all. I think the biggest thing about Marian Hobby that may matter was during that time he played for Ken Donahue, the defensive coordinator, who I think did a pretty decent job developing defensive linemen, even though he got canned in the middle of the 88 season. But yeah, I think Marian Hobby. I'm actually with you. I'm cold on that.
All right. What's next?
Next is the variety and versatility of experience he has. And what I mean by that is Marian Hobby has been a defensive coordinator, a defensive line coach, and a strength and conditioning coach.
I don't think his versatility, I'm going to say I'm cold on that too. I don't think his versatility is a factor. As a matter of fact, it might be a sign that he's what do they call it? A master of none. Help me with the phrase.
I have no idea what your phrase is.
Okay, somebody help me with you're something of many, master of none, or something like that. It might be an indictment of his career in all reality.
Yeah, I totally disagree on that. I think this is a big help. He's had a lot of years as a defensive line coach. He's coming in as an analyst, so with defensive coordinator experience, he'll be able to see the field well. And also, and here's the underrated part: he started as a strength and conditioning coach. Dave, if there's any position you can transition to from strength and conditioning coach, it's coaching defensive line, right? Because that's half of coaching defensive line is about conditioning them, isn't it? So
those are two positions in strength and conditioning coach and analyst that you're basically just holding on to the staff. You're holding on.
Yeah, but I still think that again, he has a long decorated career as an on-field assistant. So I think that I don't think there's any issue with this. I think he's bringing a lot more to the table than you with this versatility.
Okay, what else you got?
Alrighty, championship experience. Played for an SEC title team in Tennessee. Was the co-defensive coordinator of Clemson's national title team in 2016, and most importantly, not most importantly, but he was his 1 year at Tennessee since he graduated. Just happened to be the 1998 season when he was the assistant strength coach.
I want to sound like I'm down on this hire when I'm really, really high on this hire. But to me, that's not the standout either. I'm cold on that. Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com.
Wow. You're just cold on everything. You just hate this hire.
No, I don't hate the hire at all. I hate to say this. If we were in person, I'd want you to slap me. I don't think kids care as much about winning championships.
I'm not, we're going to get to where you're getting to. I'm saying, can that help? You're only focused on what talent does this bring in. I'm going to get to that in a minute, but don't think about that for a second. Think about, does this bring any value to the staff, his abilities with his championship experience?
Okay.
That's hot.
All right, that's hot. I'll give you that.
All right. So next, NFL experience. He was with the Jags, he was with the Bengals, and he was with the Dolphins.
That's hot.
That's what kids want to hear. That's it.
Okay. Do we need to? Okay, but again, I'm not asking what kids want to hear yet. We're going to get to that. Okay. I'm asking, does the NFL experience give him any value on the staff?
Oh yeah, pick up things from NFL players. A lot of those NFL players are as smart as the coaches. Are you telling me that Peyton Manning and Tom Brady aren't as smart as the offensive coordinators that coach them?
Well, let's be honest. I think many NFL players are smarter than coaches, but that's just me. I totally agree. Peyton Manning was smarter than every coach he ever played for at the NFL level. I think the only coach who might have been smarter than him was David Cutcliffe, and there's a reason that David Cutcliffe is the only coach he ever listened to.
Yeah.
um,
I don't
so
think was it Tom Green? Was it? No,
Tom
that
Moore.
was comedian Tom Green.
Yeah,
Um,
Tom Moore did develop the no huddle offense that Peyton ran in the NFL, but basically what Tom Moore would do is give him a formation.
I didn't.
He
That
didn't.
was straight out of David Cutcliffe's pocket. It's called freeze plays. You go to the line with two different plays, and you've got a key Omaha, 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 and then you run one of the two plays. That's straight out of David. That's David Cutcliffe.
Oh, interesting.
Tom
I did not
Moore
know that.
took that from Peyton Manning, who took it from David Cutcliffe.
Maybe Tom learned formations from it. But yeah, interestingly, that's kind of the interesting one. Now, here's the one Dave's going to love because Dave's been trying to go to this with everyone. Now, I get it. Dave covered recruiting for a long time, so he only thinks about. Sometimes, Dave, you think so much from a recruiting perspective, you forget everything else involved in college football. You covered it so heavily.
Homer for 20 years.
Yeah, that's true. So, but I will say, and this is the biggest one for me, and I'll give it to you. Deep recruiting ties Marian Hobby has. Marian Hobby was a 5-year defensive coordinator for Clemson when they built their dynasty under Dabo Swinney. So he's got the South Carolina ties. He coached with the Jags and the Dolphins, so North Florida and South Florida. Just spent 4 years with the Bengals, Ohio. Coached at Louisiana Lafayette and with the Saints, so he's in Louisiana. He is a longtime David Cutcliffe assistant. He coached under David Cutcliffe at Duke for about 4 years, and he coached under David Cutcliffe at Ole Miss. So he's got North Carolina and Mississippi ties, obviously Tennessee ties, and he's from Alabama, so he has Alabama ties. I think I'll give you this is what I think the biggest one is.
What does Lindsay have to say there?
I love seeing Taylor get frustrated with Dave. The voice went up 2 octaves.
All right. What does Omaha mean? Omaha means one of the two plays, and you determine which of the two plays, number one or number two, you're going to roll with. He wasn't just saying that for fun.
No, I agree. Well, half of what Peyton was doing was dummy Omahas to see if the defense would bite, because he would know if the defense bites on the audible, he knows he's got him, right? And
I mean, it seems incredibly complicated, but it's really incredibly simple. You have two plays at the line of scrimmage. You can go to the line and you can say Omaha's a dummy call, like you said, or you can say Omaha's an actual signal. And I mean, it really is simple. I saw an interview with Peyton Manning over the weekend where he talked about he had a tight end that jumped off sides on two different. They were trying to run out the clock 2 last drives, and it ended up being a close game because this dodo bird jumped off sides. And it really isn't difficult. You listen for Omaha, and then you listen for next sound. But the guy jumped off sides both times, and Peyton sent him to the sideline, threw him out of the game.
I'm guessing this was Julius Thomas that did that because he had a moment where he lashed out at Julius Thomas. But wait,
I remember who it was, but it was a pretty significant player.
So how hot or cold are you on all these recruiting ties? You think they're relevant?
That's hot.
Question is the limits they put on these guys going on the road recruiting.
Here's what I'll say. I think Marian Hobby. I think the Clemson tie. I think the tie to the Carolinas is the most legitimate. And the reason the tie to the Carolinas is most legitimate, and I want to know your thoughts on this, Dave, is that he spent 6 years as the co-defensive coordinator at Clemson and was part of that national title team in 2016. That's not going to be forgotten about in South Carolina, is it?
No, I wouldn't think so.
And he knows a lot of people at the high school level there, probably.
How many years has that been, though?
That's 9 years ago, but that doesn't mean the high school coaches he's not connected to. And hey, Dave, and you know the answer. Does our message board know the answers? How many starters on the 98 national title defensive line team were from South Carolina?
All of them.
All of them. All 4. You got a defensive line coach whose deepest recruiting tie is to South Carolina on your staff now. I don't think you can overrate that.
No, I agree. Adam says, I got to talk to a former Vols player yesterday, and I asked him if he wanted to coach. He said, absolutely, but it's hard to get a job where you would really want to coach. Very true, and you usually have to work your way up the line with high school or as an analyst like Robert Ayers is doing, and to some extent what Marian Hobby's doing. Is he making great money? Probably not.
Well, I mean, Marian Hobby's I think this is I just want to stay in Knoxville now. He's 58. So look, there are sacrifices you make to get into coaching from a personal level that I don't think I would ever make. And the climb of the ladder is so tough. And even when you do get your big break, like 90% of the time, and you know this, Dave, 90% of the time in college football, when you get your big break at the right program, it's not the right time to be at that program. So
now Trevor does bring up a good point. He kind of flies in the face of my conventional thinking. Does recruiting even matter anymore? I mean, it does. It just doesn't feel as important. I'm going to disagree with that. I think it's every bit as important. I think at the end of the day, you're going to see, if it's Joey Aguilar or whoever it is at quarterback, you're going to see a guy that's a little less talented than Nico. I think Nico would have had a fantastic season because he is uber talented. Was he as accurate on the deep balls I thought he would be? Probably not, Caleb. But when I watched that guy just from a talent evaluation standpoint, I've done this for a long time. I thought he was incredibly talented. I don't think there's any question about that.
that's why I thought he was created in a Laffer Heupel system. His deep ball actually was amazing coming out of high school. I don't know what happened in college other than he was too hesitant to get rid of the ball at times, and certain receivers had lost a step. But no, I totally agree. And look, we talk about this all the time. We talk about systems that coaches develop that make them such geniuses. And you're the one who would always tell me, he's like, yeah, but it only works if you have the right players. I mean, you've taught me about the Nick Saban inventing the pattern matching and the turning with your hips. And you're like, yeah, but that only works if the cornerbacks are like super, super, super athletic and like are just rare talents. And the same with like everybody in the 90s talks about Spurrier's fun and gun. Well, that only works if your receivers are wildly fast, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think General Ursus may have refuted what we were kicking around. That is, recruiting is still important. Just look at OSU, Georgia, and Texas. I don't think we would argue that those were the three most talented schools, and they went the deepest.
The 2018 Georgia recruiting class is widely considered the greatest recruiting class in history. There's a reason they won back-to-back titles in 2021 and 2022.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with that.